And let's go to the NBA here.
Mm,
Let's stay on schedule. And obviously a lot going on with Jimmy Butler here. Okay, as right now it's reported that the Miami Heat suspended Jimmy Butler again for 2 games, I believe, after he missed the team flight. Now, obviously, this is an ongoing saga here between Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. So now the question that we have, because look, Cuzzo, this has been going on for a minute.
yeah, I know.
It's been ignored by us here on the show because obviously the playoffs and everything, the football season. So, we just watching everything, see everything play out or whatever. I was expecting a trade by now. It hasn't happened. So now that we have a little bit more flexibility with football coming to an end, we decide to highlight and talk about this ongoing situation. And because of the mic is yours, how should Pat Riley handle this Jimmy Butler situation?
Trade him. Gotta go. Um, Listen, and when you gotta trade a player, you're not gonna get true value, and that's how the NBA works, right? You get your back against the wall, and you gotta trade a player. Guess what? Your return is gonna be garbage. And now that's to be clear. Jimmy Butler's not having a worldly season this year. I want to say he's averaged about 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. Still, but we know Jimmy though turning on in the playoffs. Let's be clear. But Pat Riley just got to get him off the team because Jimmy Butler have that type of mentality, and this can work in his favor, and sometimes it could work in the team's favor, and sometimes it could work against the team. Because of his mentality, it's the reason why they went to 2 NBA finals. Okay? He's that rugged. He's that dude mentally. He's so asphyxiated on himself as I can will us to win. That's how he's built. So whatever is going on the insides of the Miami Heat and the beef between him and Pat Riley, clearly Jimmy Butler is standing still saying that he's right or whatever the situation may be. He's never going to come back to Miami and mash it back in with the team and the players. He's now officially a cancer for the Miami Heat. They have to get rid of him. That's just it. And listen, I know Pat Riley, who's an old school dude, and he probably got a rough way of saying things and delivering things, just to be clear, because I'm quite sure he did it very roughly. His delivery could be very passive. Okay, I'm quite sure because he even had beef with LeBron James back in the day. So I'm quite sure he told Jimmy Butler, like, yo, this is what it is. And it is what it is. You don't get no superstar treatment over here. And whatever the situation may be, Jimmy stands 2 feet down. He got to go. And he's saying he's willing to get traded. But see, Pat Riley is so 2 feet down. We don't got to trade him. We don't got to trade him. And I think that's what Pat Riley is pretty much saying right now. We ain't got to trade him. But Pat Riley, you got to trade him. He's a cancer to the Miami Heat. Spoelstra won't be able to handle that. Trust me on this. Jimmy Butler is that dude. Just to be clear.
I mean, look, to me, no matter if the Heat trade or keep Jimmy Butler, they're in a lose-lose situation here, right? I don't think there's any alternative in which they win here, and that's unfortunate for them. It puts that franchise at a disadvantage. And sure, Jimmy Butler is still a good two-way player, capable in the playoffs of taking over a series, but he's injury-prone, number one. He's 35 years old, number two. He wants a max extension, number three. And I don't see a team selling the farm to be able to make that happen. And the way how Jimmy Butler has handled this situation is embarrassing. Okay, it's unprofessionalism at the highest of levels. The lack of attention to detail, shooting threes when he should be driving to the paint, jogging when he should be running. It's an embarrassing look. But the reality is, this is a behavior that was condoned by your commissioner, Adam Silver, who has gotten a reputation over the years as being known as the players commissioner. Okay, allowing players to not play back-to-backs, allowing players to have a certain amount of trade requests per season. Okay, and now these things are a normity. Okay, and now Jimmy Butler is the latest to take on that freedom that these other players like Kevin Durant, James Harden, Anthony Davis, okay, Damian Lillard, all these guys has been able to do. I don't think it was, I think Damian Lillard, he did request a trade, obviously, after, a certain amount of years. But you look at these things, right? I just don't understand why players in the NBA don't honor their contracts. I don't understand it. I think it's very unprofessional. And look, nobody had an issue when Jimmy Butler requested a trade from the Timberwolves back when he was on the Timberwolves, right? Because they got the narrative of being soft. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns, that narrative has followed him individually, but he was a star franchise cornerstone at the time on that team. He got labeled soft. So obviously we look at Jimmy Butler and we're like, okay, I can understand why he wants to trade. He wants to go to a team that's not as soft. You know, Thibodeau was the head coach. He gets a narrative of playing his players 1,000 minutes, right? Okay, I understand why Jimmy Butler wants out. But then he does that. He goes to Philly, obviously. Philly, we look at Philly, we look at them as a joke. Ben Simmons in that situation, and Joel Embiid and the injuries. So we like, okay, we understand why he left Philly to go to Miami, right? And obviously he gave Miami those great, years, obviously, going on a couple finals runs. But now we looking at Miami and how he's handling this situation in Miami, and we're like, hold up. No. We gave you a hall pass, buddy. Okay, and you took that hall pass, and instead of you going to the bathroom, you going to hang out with your boys in the cafeteria. Something is not right, okay? Because Miami has a culture. Miami is a team that they draft well, they develop guys well. Okay, they are well coached. They have the best coach, arguably, in the NBA. They have a owner or a GM that's literally like a mob boss. He looks like a mob boss. Okay, the guy looked like a mob boss in Pat Riley. Okay, he's the Godfather. He told LeBron James, "What you doing with how you do with the coaches? Nah, we ain't getting rid of Erik Spoelstra. We ain't doing that." Okay, he told LeBron James no in an era where you couldn't tell LeBron James no.
Clear.
Okay, so now we see Jimmy Butler coming over here with the same shenanigans, and we not buying it this time. And now it makes Jimmy Butler look bad like the villain. And look, it goes back to my point. The NBA players got to do a better job of honoring their contracts. Obviously, it goes back to the top. It goes back to the commissioner that allowed the NBA to have a culture like this, where we see this once or twice a year, a season. It's embarrassing. Okay, and that's why the NBA is where it's at.
Listen, man, cousin, I salute that. Everything that you said, it is embarrassing. To the point, this new NBA have a very weak mentality. It just does. And we need what we need from the owners, commissioner, coaches. We need to start putting in a culture around these young players, these young talented players, that y'all got expectations. Y'all got a job to do, and we can't be letting them off the hook to doing that job. Okay, and that's where the problem lies at, right? We let them off the hook. The minute they complain about something, we run to their aid. And it's not necessarily with Miami per se. I'm talking about league-wide. The minute you're a star in this league, everybody runs to your aid the minute you make one complaint. I don't know how many times James Harden cried and got traded. You know what I mean? Like, it's. And what do you think of what the young players is coming up? Young players out of college or the high school. What do you think they're going to do when they get to the league? You know what I mean? They're doing the
especially with the NIL. Especially with the NIL and how these guys are already rich before coming to the NBA. Right. We can see more of that behavior.
More of this behavior is really trashing the sport. It leaves such a sour taste in my mouth with this NBA. It really does. I want to see people out there grinding with blood, sweat, and tears because, they going and competing at the highest of levels. That's what we want to see. We ain't getting that, man. We getting the painting fingernails, man. Like it's really diva stuff over here, bro. It's real diva.
And the funny hairstyles. What do you think about my guy Kenny Question? Obviously, there's a report that he wants to be traded anywhere except the Grizzlies. Cuzzo, what you think about that?
Yo, I want to be traded anywhere except the Grizzlies. Clearly, he got beef with the Grizzlies. Listen, again, I don't even like the fact that these players' requests go public. I don't mind they making requests behind closed doors. I don't think these requests should be going public. You know what I mean? And I have a problem with that. Just get traded behind closed doors, bro. You know what I mean? Come to a new team tomorrow and be like, yep, I'm part of this team now. Whatever happened to Miami is gone. I'm going to ask them no questions about Miami. Talk to me about this such and such team, and that's how we're going to do moving forward. That's how we used to do it. Keep it professional. We need to know all of that garbage behind that. You know what I mean? Get out of Dodge, go to a new team, and don't got to speak about that team no more. Why I'm going to get traded up for the Grizzlies. Now you got to put all this into the air. Like, it's just too much. The NBA is like an episode now. It's like a soap opera.
I mean, look, the Grizzlies are the number 3 seed right now currently. Just a game back of the Rockets for the number 2 seed. I don't understand why he excluded the Grizzlies. Maybe it has a lot to do with the location of the basketball team. I don't know. That confused me. But the reality is, man, I think when you talk about the trade, a potential trade, and obviously me answering the question, I think Pat Riley should trade Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler. He's not going to get more than pennies on the dollar here.
Nope.
The Suns could trade Kevin Durant right now to the Warriors and get a haul. Get Kuminga, Wiggins, a couple picks. They can get a haul for Kevin Durant right now, right? That's not going to happen for Jimmy Butler. And the Suns obviously has been rumored to want to make this deal happen, but I don't understand why the Suns continue to build the basketball team the way they do when it was evident that depth is the key part of why you win a finals, is having that
Right.
depth behind your two
Absolutely.
stars. You have a guy in Bradley Beal who's making a supermax contract, and he's a lesser version than Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on the same team. He's a lesser version than them. Okay, and only provides you good offensive basketball, right? He's a good offensive basketball player, but he's not Kevin Durant offensively, and he's not Devin Booker offensively, and yet he's making a supermax contract, right? So I can understand why they're trying to get rid of him, but they should never traded for him to begin with. To me, that was always a mistake. I don't understand how a lot of these organizations do business. I don't understand how these players do business, and it's a bad look for the league. One more point that I want to bring up, because I think the winner here for me is Boston in a weird way, because Miami would have locked in Jimmy Butler was the chink in Boston's armor.
Absolutely.
All right. I remember Bam Adebayo, blocking Tatum's shot in the bubble. I remember Derek White put back bucket that allowed the series to be extended. Okay. I remember Caleb Martin on Miami going off and looking like freaking Klay Thompson out there at one point, right? And now Boston doesn't have to worry about a team that can be as physical, against them like these other NBA teams, which don't have that physicality. I'm talking about getting up on Tatum, getting up on Brown, causing him to over dribble with the left hand. They don't got to worry about that. They can win their matchups in a shootout, and I think they would prefer it to be that way compared to how Miami used to play them back in the day. Now they pretty much done. So I think Boston now has the freedom to continue to contend and win championships if they so please.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a great take based off of Miami has been a thorn in Boston's side to the point this Miami team, once Jimmy is gone, I think he will be gone. And even if he stays, it just won't be the same. Miami really got to go back into the lab and really, start building the team back up from scratch. Because unless they draft a big time superstar like D Wade back in the day, right now they just there. Miami Heat is just there at this point. Jimmy Butler was they kind of like their savior to the point that once he get into the playoffs, we never know what happened. It could be an 8th seed, a 9th seed.
He was their savior after the LeBron James situation, after they won the championships. Absolutely. And then LeBron left. Everybody was expecting a rebuild. Jimmy Butler went over there in free agency and obviously gave them another couple championship runs. So unless they get another situation like that, to me, it's inevitable that they're just going to be, they well coached. They're going to be, bottom tier, in the Eastern Conference going forward. To me,
absolutely, it's just crazy. But I real quick, cousin, what's a good landing spot for Jimmy?
To be honest with you, I think if the Warriors don't make a trade for Kevin Durant, I still think they need another trade in order to be realistic about their championship aspirations in the Curry window. So I think obviously it's going to come down to who they're willing to part ways with. Right. Obviously, you got Kuminga, who has upside, massive upside there with Jonathan Kuminga. That'd be a great trade piece for Miami. So I think you could do that. You could do Wiggins. You could do, maybe a pick or something like that. And you make that deal. And I think Jimmy Butler with Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry's going to space the floor. Jimmy Butler is going to be able to do his work from the mid-range. So you got exterior play. You got interior play. And obviously what he brings in the playoffs, as far as his mentality. I think that would be a decent fit.
I agree. Sure, might give him a ring. Might give him a championship.
Yeah, literally, finally, right?
Yeah.
But I don't really think, with that being said, by the way that Jimmy Butler is acting, because think about this point. Everybody, and I'm pretty sure everybody, was cheering for Jimmy Butler at one point to win that ring because he was putting in the work on both sides of the ball. He was hustling. He was taking the game over in the fourth quarter. It was like a formula. You keep us afloat for the majority of the game with your 3-point shooting, and guess what? In the fourth quarter, I'm gonna take over the game, right? And we was rooting for that. Obviously, he was dealing with less. I mean, you talk about the championship runs. He had lesser teams than the team that came out of the West. Okay, he got them there, right? We saw him, bending over at the bubble against the Lakers, tied because he took that team there. But now with these actions, I don't even think we rooting for him to win.
No, not no more. I mean, he's not that guy that we looking to, because for myself, I'm looking for that gritty guy. I want to see grit back into the NBA, right? I want to see that. So Jimmy was almost like a throwback for me. Go in there and grind it out. See what happens when you grind it out. You can actually beat a more talented team. And he's showing you that. He's shown that. Now, I don't know what the heck Jimmy doing, man. It might be time for him to go.
Yeah. We'll see what happens going forward with that situation.